Chapter 15. Okay, so start getting into it a little bit now. The chapter 15 focuses on time, where we choose. Obviously in the story, it's how the patient chooses to spend his time. Does he choose to spend it thinking about the past, living in the present, or focusing on the future? And so the heart of what's happening here is going to revolve around that. Important thing to note throughout Screwtape Letters, I'm not sure if we've talked about it to this point, but it is very important to note that yes, the patient is an outside character, but the patient is a representation of us, of me, of you. So when we're evaluating this novel, Screwtape Letters, and thinking about the patient and how he's being impacted by Screwtape and Wormwood through the notes, we need to factor in that this is us. We're the ones being impacted by the sins of the world and the struggles and the things that take us away from God. And so that's the important note for what C.S. Lewis has wanted us to look at. So let's dive into the main conflict. The main conflict. The main conflict is what Screwtape is advising his nephew, Wormwood, to have the patient focused on the future. There are spots where the patient has the option to choose about looking towards the past, the present, or the future. Screwtape is telling his nephew to keep him looking towards the future because the future is where nearly all vices lie. Those hopes, those fears, those things that keep the patient focused on the natural world. And ultimately, if we're putting it back to us as a first person, these are the things that distract us from the present moment to the things that God wants us to be focused on. Because the pleasures, as this chapter 15 talks about, the pure pleasures come from the present. And in building our relationship with God, obviously, and looking to eternity, but not focusing on natural items within the future. Okay, so on page 76, we have this line from the letter from Screwtape where he says, "Hence, nearly all vices are rooted in the future. Gratitude looks to the past, and love to the present. Fear, avarice, lust, and ambition look ahead." Okay, so there you have it. Resolution. The resolution. Okay, I pretty much already touched on this in the main conflict because we talked about the three avenues of how the patient can focus his time on the past, the present, and the future. We know that Screwtape wants Wormwood to have his patient focused on the future. And we know this from page 77 more specifically when Screwtape writes, "But we want a man hag-ridden by the future, haunted by visions of an imminent heaven or hell upon earth, ready to break the enemy's command in the present if by doing so we make him think he can attain the one or avert the other, dependent for his faith on the success or failure of schemes whose end he will not live to see." Screwtape just highlighting it right there. Anything that keeps the patient focused on the natural world will be a total distraction for the enemy, as Screwtape refers to God multiple times throughout this novel. That anything we can do to focus our patient's energy or Wormwood's patient's energy away from God and keeping him on the natural world will ultimately be successful for Screwtape in his quest to get the soul, essentially, of the patient. Okay, so the theme is awesome in Screwtape Letters because each chapter has its own unique theme. It's something that we can take away as the human insight. This being C.S. Lewis being a Christian apologist, he is always looking to defend the faith. And so here's another aspect where he's imploring the audience, which is me, which is you. We are the acting patient in the book. These are the same challenges that we face in our life that we can totally cross over. So in this book, we had the walkthrough. I shouldn't say this book. I should say this chapter. We had the walkthrough of the main conflict with how we as the patient choose to focus our energy and time. Is it on the past, the present, or the future? The resolution, obviously, for Screwtape and Wormwood is they want us, or the patient, to be focused on the future because the future is where all vices lie. However, God wants us to focus our natural time on two things: eternity, obviously, and then focus on the present. Okay, so he says on page 75, he, therefore, I believe, wants them to attend chiefly to two things, to eternity itself and to the point of time which they call the present. And the reason why he wants us to focus on the present is because, look, he even says it on page 78 and 79, because there and there alone, all duty, all grace, all knowledge, and all pleasure dwell, and that being the present. The present is where, on this natural world, we need to be focused on our duties now, our grace, our lives presently. Not be worried and be constrained about what's ahead in the future with all those fears and all those hopes, because those are just natural presences. Rather be wrapped up in the moment. Live for now. And there are touches of the future a little bit where it can be beneficial in our relationship with God to look towards the future, but those are only when we are thinking about what they put in the book. They put it on page 77, midway through. The duty of planning the morrow's work is today's duty. So when we're looking to plan tomorrow's work today, then great. But if not, let's focus on the here, the moment now, and what lies ahead in eternity. Okay? So that's the wrap-up of chapter 15. It's time.